And we're live.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to This is Difficult, the podcast. It's a podcast. It's difficult. Video games are involved. Yes, that's sums it up.
Named most of the things.
3.5 very attractive hosts today.
Hey.
We got Merktool himself in the
Wait,
audience.
is 0.5 of us attractive,
I don't know,
or
he's
is 0.5
co-hosting.
of a host?
That's what I meant more.
Okay.
I didn't mean of a person.
I think he's very attractive.
All the facial hair you could eat, except for Zach.
I mean, there's a little there. I just trimmed it way back.
It's getting there. Puberty wasn't hard on all of us.
Dang.
Anyway, guys, welcome to This is Difficult. I am your co-host, Lord Yeshua, Josh in the Fleshua. It sounded so
It's a little gross, but I like it.
We're on Paul's
Don't
channel.
say Fleshua.
Never again. I'm surprised I haven't said it more, honestly.
Yeah.
Anyway. There's Paul. And then Merktool. Yes, of course. I don't even know your real
This is my
name.
buddy James. He goes by Merktool. He's one of my mods. He's a good dude. He's one of my best friends. We play games a lot together.
I can confidently say I've known this person for 2 years without knowing their first name.
That's the internet, bro.
That's fair.
It's the internet for you. I've also never actually touched Paul physically, and we've been friends for 4 years. Touch him. Yes.
This is getting weird.
It's getting weird. All right, I'll make it a little weirder.
It's been weird.
I was hoping it to be fully weird completely. Okay. And then of course we have Zach, another letdown over there. Yes, we got everybody today.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we're talking about video games and such things thereof. We got a good one for you. Let's see what Paul has in store for us.
We got an all right one.
We got a decent one.
It'll be okay.
We
Yeah,
got
that's
one
what
for
sells.
you.
We have
We're
a
doing
one for
fine.
you guys tonight.
We definitely have one for you.
No, it'll be good. Has everyone had a good weekend? You guys cool? Everyone having a good time? Yeah.
Hey, long
Yeah.
weekend,
Oh,
man.
Yeah.
Yeah, long weekend's been nice. You guys play video games this week?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Josh said, "Oh yeah," very confidently. So let's start with Josh. What'd you play this week?
The
bud?
oh yeah is actually for something that we're planning on doing. But so okay, lots of Elden Ring and Kirby. We were on the way to 100% in Kirby, and we did 100% it literally the next time we hung out after that. And this game is way shorter actually. I take back my 5 hours. I think 3 to 4 hours.
The N64 one.
It's what for 64?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you could.
I learned today that 64 is the best system ever made by someone that I don't trust or know.
I feel like it's a valid argument though. But I will say that Kirby Crystal Shards is still the best Kirby game. I think it was definitely. I might even enhance the rating a little to a 7.9 after 100%ing it. 1.1 up. It is a pretty good game. I would say you should play it. Any percent literally 2 hours max.
I started it for 3 minutes. I did one of those. Let's jump in and see what this is about. And I couldn't figure out how to merge powers, and I dropped it.
Okay, so I will say anyone playing with a Pro Controller, right? Pro Controller?
I was just playing handheld mode.
Oh, handheld mode. Never mind. That's kind of weird.
So it'd be like a
even
Pro Controller.
So me and Colin often, because some games do operate differently. For example, Kirby Crystal Shards is a D-pad game, but it really only uses 3 other buttons. A button to pull out your ability, a button to suck in an ability and inhale things, and a button to jump.
Mm-hmm.
So the issue being it doesn't always map those correctly, with the Switch setup. So I often remap for the N64. I actually have one that's really good. I preset and just called it N64, and you can preset your own.
That's
button
probably
mapping
what
guide.
my problem was, because
anytime
I tried to do anything, I'd accidentally get rid of my power, and I'm like, fuck,
Yeah.
I want another power in addition to.
And that's the beauty of that game is that you can combine powers and stuff like that. So I would say give it another shot with controls that make sense. Literally give yourself an A, a B.
Yeah,
and
send me your mapping suggestion.
Oh yeah, I should. Yeah, it works on most N64 games.
Cool.
I mean, I started using the GameCube controller too, and that's a really fun controller. It's pretty much for fucking everything.
The most mediocre controller ever made.
Which is so I might agree if it didn't feel so damn good with so many.
I was gonna say it's the most mediocre controller ever made, to its credit.
Right.
To its
well,
credit.
yeah, sure, and that's fine. I think it's people who think it's the best controller ever made, exclusively play Smash Brothers.
Yeah.
It's the best controller ever made for Smash Brothers. Okay, that's fine. I'll accept that answer.
As a Nintendo, a worshiper of the father, since my whole life, and think about this, someone who started playing on the Super Nintendo, we get Super N64 and GameCube, right? The GameCube being the third console that we ever pretty much played, because the NES was a little before our time.
Sure.
Okay. Now I use that controller for like 6 years until the Wii comes out. Now the Wii lets me use it. The Wii U lets me use it.
Yeah.
The fucking Switch now lets you use it. You can use this controller from 2001 until 2022.
This was a topic of discussion earlier today at my house with a bunch of people, including my homie Premier 2.
Oh, for God's sakes, you
Oh my God, you shameless plug, motherfucker.
That backwards compatibility matters when it comes to like what makes a console good. And there was plenty of arguments against that, but ultimately I won. So I'm just kidding.
I will say
I probably
one
didn't,
argument against it is now using it in the new day. Like you can't hard map it on certain games and stuff. Like you can kind of change button layouts like if it were a Pro controller. But so for example, I would love for it to just operate as a standard A to jump, B to whatever controller for Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze, and like the joystick feels absolutely perfect to me, as do like the LR buttons. But no matter how you remap it, the jump can only be A if your roll is X. So like it can either be jump is B and roll is A, or jump is A and roll is X. And I'm like, yo, just fucking be B. Just let roll be the B button. And I keep trying to like retrain myself, and it's just like not as good as a Pro controller, which like everything else I find that I can use it on, like Mario Kart, Smash, like all that stuff. It feels better to me. But yeah. Anyway, the thing that I was like, oh wow about though, can I talk about mods? This is a mod.
We can talk about mods. We talk about mods all the time. You talk about mods all the time.
This is a legit mod. Colin has it ready for us. I wonder if he's
for Elden Ring.
For Elden Ring,
He's been telling us about it.
Sounded
We're
amazing.
excited about it.
I was like screaming when he was describing.
Describe it, because you could probably describe it best, and we're all excited about it.
Yeah, I am very excited for this mod. This is literally in the vein of what me and Colin love too, is taking an online single player game and making it co-op. Okay, for those that know,
for those are only listening to audio, he did the quotation marks.
Those were quotes. You could tell by my inflection though, right? So Elden Ring has a co-op aspect for those that have known us or the game. Okay. There is definitely an aspect where you can summon, I'm doing quotes a lot, I'm just going to stop doing that, where you can summon another player into your world. This kind of kicks you out when there's a boss fight. You can't ride on your horses together. You can't warp on the map together. You can't even fucking sit down at a grace. Any number of things. So someone, praise be his name that I don't remember, I will give credit to this person when we stream it, which we're going to do a co-op stream, I think. A lot of people are doing that. This guy basically created a mod that unlocks all the quote-unquote fog doors basically in this game. So you're no longer limited to playing only until you get to the boss. You're no longer limited to certain areas. You can now ride your horse together.
That's awesome.
It's a continuous adventure. That being said, the mod requires you to start a new character. So I'm wondering if it literally like imprints the 2 players, actually up to 4 players, up to 4-player co-op. It like imprints them into the same file, I believe, and like makes them
that's
like
interesting.
Server. So I don't know if you can.
Well, he did say that someone has to host, because it like
someone has to host.
Yeah, it's not running off of their servers. Yeah,
I believe if you started this mod file again after tried to go solo, it would probably create you, and it would turn you into a host. It would like think you're in online mode, like you'd probably get baited and stuff. Like I just have a feeling based on
maybe according to Colin, it's a totally like separate server. Like it doesn't even touch the regular Elden Ring servers, but you can switch between mod on and mod off.
Insane. You can literally switch between mod on and mod off at will. So if there's anything you can't do, but. So we were looking into the specifications, and basically it's the full game together. It's the entire game co-op.
That's great.
And the only thing we don't know, and there is a list of things. The only thing we don't know is if you can teleport together. So that would be the one humongous. Like I actually have a feeling that you can probably use the map, like the map warping system. It kind of just seems like it makes sense.
I saw someone else do a mod that did that was able to go into co-op and teleport together to other locations in co-op. So I'm sure this guy integrated it.
Cool.
And even if it's together, like you can't warp separately, but you can like once one person teleports, then the whole party is transported to that location. That kind of makes sense too. I don't see why that couldn't be in this specific mod. Yeah, it sounds really
nice,
really sexy.
Zach, what were you gonna say, bud?
Yeah,
well, I was just going to say that this is exactly James and I were playing Elden Ring somewhat recently, and that is exactly what both of us were complaining about.
Oh yeah.
Exactly that thing.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so excited.
I will say, because it is not on the mainline server, I don't know if you get invaded, actually.
No, it's not on the mainline server.
Oh, wow, the best of everything. Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Not to mention, you're not completely nerfed as a character.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're all going to like level up together.
Zach, did you play any games this week?
Just the one that I'm going to talk about in a minute. So why don't you go first?
Okay.
Hey, you got to let the review guy go last.
Well, we don't do that anymore. Let me explain this to you like I did last week. We have a whole nother segment in between the review and the games that we talked about. So it doesn't matter who goes last.
Well, let's
but
forgot.
if you want to talk about it now, you can. If you want to wait, I can come back to you. I can come back to you.
No, I'll just say it real quick. So I will be shortly, somewhat later in this podcast, I will be reviewing Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh,
excellent. Okay, cool. Did you do anything else fun this week?
I did.
Any cool, exciting stuff? Tell us about your week.
Game related. I finally got a call back from my tattoo artist, and Samus is going on my right leg.
That's awesome.
Nice.
Yeah. June 24th.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. I'm excited about that for you. I'm excited to see it.
Me too.
James.
Yes.
Did you play any video games this week, my guy?
I dumped about 150 hours into Kenshi.
Damn. In a week?
In a week. It was last weekend, last Friday I started it. And I started because I heard one of the YouTube guys I watch, Ambiguous Amphibian, I think is his tag. He does all sorts of interesting, single player games. I was watching one of his videos. I was like, man, I didn't really give that game a try. So I went back and replayed it and put in some serious time. Also, after the fact, I learned that they're coming out with a Kenshi 2 on the Unreal Engine, which will really bring the game up to the next level. Because
I've owned that game for like probably over 10 years, and I've played it for about 5 minutes. And it's something that I always wanted to get into, but I never did. So, maybe you can guide me.
Yeah, you gotta give it a fair shot because it's a you could use this game as the definition of an open world sandbox. You could use Kenshi as the definition of that because the game throws you in with no direction, no storyline, anything. You have to make up your own story in the game.
And don't you build almost like a little army? And
you can do whatever. You can start out like I just made a new character. This is my third character now. I made like a Guts character, and I'm just playing through with like a big ass sword. I'm just playing all by himself. But then the one prior to that, I made a shepherd army. So I've like got a guy with like 10 goats, and like that's his army. The fucking goats. It's a blast. And then the one before that is like a full-blown, I made a city with like townspeople, and it's probably like 150 people deep of, like a small army, a squad, and then the free people. So yeah, the game is really flexible to kind of let you make up your own story. Good for content creators too, because they can RPG it. They can make up their own story about their own little guy, about what he is, or like about multiple people. And
it's kind of cool. Is it multiplayer?
I don't believe so. It's a speculation with Kenshi 2 if they're going to add in
that
any
would
kind
be
of
neat.
multiplayer element.
That would be neat to play.
We'll mod it.
Because for some reason I thought it was because my friend also named James, Zelion Thunder, he pops in every now and again. He's the one who told me to get it a long time ago, and usually he tells me to get a game so that we could play it together. But I don't know. I never played it with
It might. I didn't see any kind of aspect
it might not.
that would show that it's.
It's just an assumption that I always had. I could have been wrong on.
Yeah, not that I've seen.
Cool. Well, do you do any other game related stuff?
No, I only had about that 150 hours. That was all.
Only
150 hours.
Yeah, I got a little hooked. I have an addictive personality.
I did, let's see, video game wise, I played some Zelda on my Game & Watch, Link's Awakening.
Nice.
And I played about 3 minutes of Kirby and got frustrated with mechanics on the 64 emulator on the Switch.
By the way, heavy emphasis on emulator. This game locked up 10 times for us in our 3.5, 4
I've heard some problems,
Really
that need to be fixed with that game. Yeah, for sure. But it's been really awesome. I've had a very busy weekend. This weekend was my brother's birthday. Actually, tomorrow's technically his birthday, the 31st. But
Happy birthday, Adam.
Yep, we threw a surprise party for him, and I used the new Top Gun movie as a distraction to get him out of the house so that guests could arrive and stuff. And we were met there by, and I knew about this, his friend Jason from out of town came to the movie with us, and that was fun. We get back to the house, and there was a surprise even for me, because no other than Premiere 2
I knew you were gonna fucking do it like that.
shows up at the house. Pete in the flesh, from Japan, flew out for this surprise party, and it was awesome. We got to hang out with him. We just talked and reminisced about old times till the wee hours of the morning. And then, it was just really fucking awesome to see him. And then he was able to come by today as well. We did like a little, Memorial Day party at the house and hung out. I actually got to meet DG Medic in the flesh as well. He's in the chat right now, and he stopped by, which was really cool. It's one of Pete's mods, trusted individual. Very cool. Got to meet a couple other Pete's friends. We had some very in-depth video game conversation that I wish I had recorded, because it would have made an awesome podcast.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it was great. It was fun. So we had a really good time, and
live.
So, and then I got this this dope scarf, which I think actually I think DG Medic actually brought these scarves. He's the one who had them made for Pete as Pete's merch. And he had brought them, and Pete imparted this one to me. So I'm very grateful for that. It's very cool. So, yeah, this is a blasty. It was a blasty. So now, boys, current events.
Yes.
Do you guys have any any fun current events this week?
Currently.
Who wants to start? Let's start with Zach. I mean, you just were excited, it seems. So let's go.
Mine's less of a current event and just something cool that I stumbled upon on YouTube this week. Some game.
Keep talking. We can't hear you, but okay. Now we're good.
Some gamer out on the internet. I wish I remembered her name. She is her YouTube channel is dedicated to creating music on the harp, which is very cool and great for my classroom when I'm just
I think I know the person.
Personally?
No, I think I know the YouTube person you're talking about.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, so it's just quiet, calming music, and I can put it on for my students, and it generally has a slightly geekier tone. And I give them a little bit extra credit if they can name the game that it's from, or whatever. And recently somebody challenged her to run, or to basically, I think she was programming her Game Boy.
Yeah, that's the same girl I've watched. Not even kidding. Yeah. She literally she runs different mods on her harp, electronic harp thing, and literally modded a Game Boy.
And it was literally her music
through.
She's playing the harp, and it's
basically
the Game Boy one was through the Game Boy one was
one person talk at a time. Go ahead, Zach. What's up?
The Game Boy one was through a MIDI keyboard, but it was she could play the MIDI keyboard and it would output it through the Game Boy.
Oh, that's cool. Dope. Yeah, all right.
And she was live creating Game Boy music, and it was freaking sick.
That's cool. So there used to be a band that my brother followed, or maybe it was just a DJ, and he had a bunch of Game Boys and used the Game Boys as his synthesizers for all of his music. I don't know who it is.
It's a similar idea.
Yeah, that's cool.
So her name is Emily Hopkins. I posted her in the Discord. Cool. Yeah, she literally just turned her Game Boy, an old DMG Game Boy, into a MIDI instrument. And I was
amazing.
That is really, really freaking cool. So check her out on YouTube, Emily Hopkins.
Cool.
That's my
I definitely stumbled upon her because I was looking up different variations of Dire Docs one day. And she did the best version of it I ever heard. I was like, damn. Anyway, and she has like a ton of video game music in there.
That's awesome. I love that. I love when like super talented people do video game music. I have got a friend who happens to be the fastest clapper on the planet. But also he is like a concert fiddle player. He's like a professional like orchestra level fiddle player, and he has a band called the Hit Points. He's got a band called the Hit Points that puts out some of the most awesome video game music you've ever heard. It's so good. I highly recommend checking them out on Spotify. Real cool stuff. Anyone else got any current events? Josh, anything? No? See anything this week that caught your eye?
That crab video a little more. You know, the crab game?
Yeah.
That got announced? Apparently it got further talked about as a Souls-like game.
Yeah, I mean, they talked about that in the announcement trailer. Yeah.
I thought it was announced as an adventure. When I watched it, I was like,
I think they kind of...
They said Dark Souls.
Thought I remembered it being like a Soulsy.
It wasn't the most entertaining indie video launch, but I found that out this week, and
nice.
I'm like, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, it looks cool.
It actually makes me want it less, I'm not going to lie, because I was really looking forward to a 3D platformer.
I thought it looked so fun regardless. And like the concept of like, because you're like a hermit crab. So like the concept of like finding new armors that are like your house is cool.
Yeah,
I don't know.
It's pretty fun.
I
get it. I'll probably get that still.
James, any current events, bro?
No, not that I can think of. I mean, there's a game in alpha that I've been kind of following that's gaining a little bit of popularity.
Is it the Kenshi 2 or?
Well, there's the Kenshi 2, but then there's this other game. Gosh, I had it right here a second ago.
Oh, son of a bitch.
I know, right? It's only...
Fill time while he looks stuff up.
Mountain Blade 2 Bannerlord.
What?
Yeah, it's the reason I found it is because I was getting really into Kenshi, getting excited for Kenshi 2, and I was like, was there any other games in this type of genre?
Mm-hmm.
And stumbled upon this game, and it's you hop in. It's like I said, it's early access. It's on Steam, and they're charging full price for it, of course, like normal, which sucks, but whatever.
That is the bummer about early access games, right?
That really ruins it.
Because like I would like to buy like there's certain early access games like let's say like 30XX, right? Yep. Like I know I'm gonna want that game, and at like if it was a full game, you know, like a completed game, I would 100% pay full price for it. But like if you're getting an alpha version of a game, you don't know if it's going to be good,
right?
And so like to pay full price for an alpha just feels gross, you know.
And you feel like you're trying to support it, and you don't know if it's gonna. That was like my experience with DayZ. You know, I paid full price for DayZ back in the alpha days, and it crapped the bed, and it's a big bummer because even today it's still not a completed game after whatever 12 years or something.
To be fair to DayZ, it's still, regardless of it like not ever coming to full fruition, it was still in a very playable state and had a very active community for years.
Yeah,
so,
very true.
But
you also
it's still
you run the risk of people getting bored with your concept before it even comes out.
Yeah,
that's like ridiculous.
Big time.
Well, my biggest.
I am very guilty of getting bored with the concept and diving off. My friends backed Star Citizen hook, line, and sinker.
Dude.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know someone who's put more than $30,000 into that game. I'm not even joking.
They tons of cash into Star Citizen. They bought copies for all their friends and a whole bunch of other stuff. It's still not out.
Yeah.
It's been 10 years.
Yeah. So when I first started streaming, I was streaming for a company called Husky Entertainment that was started by one of my ex-students who, made some good life choices and became very wealthy at a young age. And he put over $30,000 into that game. And he bought us all characters and ships, and it was cool.
Like nice ships too. Like
but it's like not a completed game, and nowhere, and it never will be.
It'll never be done.
Yeah.
Well, that and the worst part about early access games is the fact that you buy this game in early access to help fund it, right? To help it get to release. But the problem with the game companies is that I've found anyways through my early access experiences is once they get the player base to join because they release on early access, they start fixing bugs to make it a playable early access game versus development of the game to get it to have more content to play.
Yeah.
And that's the problem, is they just fix the bugs instead of bringing more to the table.
Mm-hmm. This is why PC will never be the best console.
Oh, sick.
I'm just kidding.
That doesn't make any sense.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
I know, we all know Nintendo's the best because they just give you one game once.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah.
Except for Mario Strikers, they like totally openly said like it's not a complete game and we're going to incrementally give you more of it.
That's what they did with the golf one too, right?
That's what they did with golf, but less blatantly.
Yeah.
Like we got golf and we were like, oh, I hope they give us more, and they
well,
did.
At least they're being honest with Strikers, right? So the golf one, they just released it, and then freaking like there was no content at first. By the way, Josh was ranked very high in that game, which was cool.
I think I was low 200.
Yeah,
it was like 215.
We were all hoping that Josh was going to be a Mario Golf pro.
It's still possible.
Yeah, it is still possible. Yeah, that was funny though.
I just like really haven't played that game in like a year.
That was a fun ride to watch.
That was a fun ride. Remember that until more people played it.
Yeah. So in the chat, we hear like just put it in Game Pass. That absolves any responsibility on how the game turns out. I
think he's being sarcastic.
Maybe, yeah, and maybe
like, in Game Pass,
but also like
free game then, basically.
There's something to be said about that. Like Game Pass, you pay as a service for complete games, right? Like I wouldn't.
It's not like Steam.
I wouldn't want any alphas in Game Pass personally.
Yeah. Or at least that's not my expectation of Game Pass.
Right,
like,
right.
Steam, there's some level of expectation because it's always been that way.
Yeah.
But Game Pass, I'm looking for complete product.
Dude, I'm so bad at pronouncing people's Twitch names.
Oh my god, I'm terrible.
Especially when they're like letters and shit.
Yeah, PUBG. PUBG's cool. PUBG's a finished game now, though, isn't it?
What's up?
Yeah. Well, PUBG came out as a finished game because it was originally. Now it's a standalone game. It's made by Player Unknown.
Yeah.
But he started out in Arma. Yeah. That's where the game started as a mod for Arma.
Wasn't it a ripoff of H1N1?
I think it was before.
I thought it was a ripoff of something.
I don't know. Anyway, whatever. It's cool. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. PlayStation's doing that with their new service, which actually, I mean, it's semi-related to what I'm going to talk about as my current event, so I'll just, go with it. But I think they're requiring any game with a certain amount of playable time, like any game that's over a certain amount of hours, to include a demo that is playable in their new service. I don't know, but I don't hate the idea. It kind of brings you back to, because it's not like they're giving you an alpha version of the game. It's like a demo, like the old demo discs we used to get. Right.
Okay.
So I don't hate that idea, but it's kind of weird, and I don't know how successful that's going to be. But it's an interesting take.
Remember how awesome those demo discs used to be, the Nintendo ones?
They were
like
so
we're talking
cool.
about GIFs.
It's any game priced over $34.99. Okay.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of demos are like highlights or like one highlight part, and it's like so condensed. You're not getting any tutorial most likely, or if you are, it's super abridged. I don't know. I feel like it's still like cheating. It's like showing someone a really good trailer, basically.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't know. So my current event this week, boys, the State of Play that is supposedly coming on. Actually, I think it definitely is coming on June 2nd. But the list of announcements leaked. I don't know if this is real, but it looks pretty official. And it sounds pretty official too. So I'm going to read these off for you. Honestly, nothing looks super appealing to me.
Let's see.
But there are some things I'm interested in. So I'm going to list them off, and I'll tell you what I think here. Project Destructive. I think I have seen something on that, but I don't really know what it is. And it's saying it's an announcement trailer, so we don't know. It sounds destructive, I guess. Stray is a final trailer. Street Fighter 6 first trailer. We've got Project Eve trailer. I think I've seen something on that, but I couldn't tell you what it is.
Like Parasite Eve.
I wish it was like Parasite Eve. We've got Forspoken, which I'm like very cautiously optimistic on Forspoken.
Cool.
And Little Devil Inside I actually think looks pretty cool. Chat's saying this is fake, so bummer. But I'm gonna finish the list anyway. And we do like to give the disclaimer that with rumors, it is a rumor, so take from it what you will.
It's a rumor, but it's still a talking point.
Yeah. Chia, I don't know how to pronounce that. It's spelled TCHIA. Never heard of it. Now this is where it gets a little bit interesting for me, right? We've got the PlayStation VR 2 overview. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 with PlayStation VR. Resident Evil Village Last Hopes update with PlayStation VR. Avatar Frontiers of Pandora with PlayStation VR. Daemonium with PlayStation VR, and then Resident Evil 4 remake. So
it sounds like they're going to be announcing the official VR for the PS5. Basically.
Yeah. To me, this does sound credible, but apparently it's already been disproven. I wouldn't be surprised if you do see some of this stuff though. But yeah, take from it what you will. So that was my current event. I think I actually had a different current event earlier in the week, but I had such a busy weekend that I totally forgot what it was. So that's what I went with. It was kind of like on the fly thing. Anyway, it's that part of the show where we do a game review. So I'm going to let Zach take it away. Let me switch over here real quick. Shrink. Boom. All right, Zach, let's play the footage. There we go. Tell us what you're doing, bud.
Well, buckle up, boys, because it's another comic book review from me.
It's
Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. So I did all the Batman games. I did the Spider-Man games. It was only logical that I move on to Guardians of the Galaxy. It was developed by
my shoulder.
It was developed by
children.
Sorry, go ahead, Zach.
It was developed by Eidos Montreal and produced by Square Enix Europe. For an October 26th, 2021 release on all major current platforms. I played it on PlayStation 5, but it is available on PC, Switch, PS4 5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and obviously Game Pass would be my recommended way if you're going to get this game.
Mm-hmm.
What did I like about it? There's a fair amount to like. The environments are fun. The music is absolutely top notch. It's all the 80s jams that you want out of a Guardians game. The story is like amusing, and it had me laughing a couple of times. But there's a lot more that I didn't like. I'm just going to be honest with you.
Let's hear it. This is like the first time I've heard like a negative review of this game. Most people have been like blowing this up, so I'm anxious to hear what you have to say.
I looked it up, and the reviews aren't stellar.
Really?
They're kind of like right up the middle, and there's one that's 4.4.
Oh dang!
Woo! And I was like, oh wow, I don't think it was that bad, but like, the graphics don't look current generation. They look pretty garbage, pretty gunky. I'm
actually already seeing, you had mentioned off stream that there's some kind of the same kind of things that you complained about with Jedi Fallen Order with like the movement and stuff. I'm seeing that.
The movement is unpolished. Yeah. The dialogue is like whatever. The dialogue options are utter crap. And oftentimes like it has a Mass Effect like dialogue system, but it doesn't change the outcome of the game in any way, shape, or form. It's the end is scripted one way or the other, and it like there's a couple of little details that change throughout the story based on the dialogue decisions you make, but there's no clear indication of what is going to happen as a result of your dialogue. There's a bunch of characters that get introduced and then just forgotten about. There are several boss battles that are completely inconsequential / Deus Ex Machina. Like there's a great battle that you start fighting. It's just you and Drax on these two big behemoth dudes. And then Cosmo the space dog rescues you. And it's like,
so weird.
I'm sorry, this is not what I wanted. I wanted to actually see this battle through the end. Also, I had the upper hand. Why are you interrupting me right now?
Damn it,
the
Cosmo.
gameplay, like the controls are really just janky is putting it lightly. So the way the game works is you control Star-Lord and only Star-Lord. You can issue vague commands to the rest of your team, but it fully takes you out of the action in order to do so. You have to hold the shoulder button and then one of the symbol buttons twice. So if I wanted to say, Gamora, go do your ultimate ability on this particular target, I hold the left shoulder button, press triangle, and then press X, and she will maybe do her ultimate ability on the baddie you're targeting. More than likely, she'll do it to some random mook that doesn't matter, that you can just shoot in the face and he'll die, thereby wasting her ultimate ability. In boss fights, it's equally dirty, and then you have to manage your own abilities as well. So 9 times out of 10, I mean, right up until the end game, I wasn't using Star-Lord's abilities at all. I was just issuing commands to the team because it takes that long to do it. It's largely, the controls are largely, for just moving around, are largely unintuitive. You can't crouch, you can jump certainly, but like you can't strafe out of the way. You can't, once you're locked onto a target, you are fully locked into that target, and then now you're getting pulverized from the back. And so this story was
Can you not switch between like locked targets?
Not easily, and it doesn't really explain to you how to do any of that either. It
Huh.
shows you, like, you get a quick splash screen that vaguely tells you what your ability does, but isn't very specific. There's no training or practice mode. It's just, here's your ability, good luck. So it, like, normally, to detach myself from a game long enough to do a tutorial or a practice mode, it is significantly detrimental. But if you do it right, the timing is fine. You can, like, honestly, why not just put like a little simulator thing in the Milano? You've got 2 empty rooms that do absolutely nothing. You could put a little training simulator in there and have no problem at all. There's a bunch of just like random hanging plot threads that don't have any bearing on anything, or they might, but it's just impossible to move them forward while continuing the pace of the main game. And there's no indication as to how to move them forward. For example, in the hangar area of the Milano, like the launch bay, Groot has like this plant menagerie, and there's no explanation as to why that's there, or at least I didn't find one. Allegedly, there, like I looked it up later, allegedly there is, a plot thread with that, but it's a bunch of collectibles that I honestly just didn't see. And in general, I would have otherwise said that the collectathon elements are like appropriately balanced in this game. It's almost exactly the right number. Okay. You're just looking for currency and different costumes that are entirely cosmetic, so you don't feel any compulsion to 100% that.
Just currency.
Yeah, it's really just currency. And I did 100% all the abilities. That was fine, no problem. But the biggest problem I had, and I've talked about this before with other games, this game had one hell of an identity crisis. On a surface level, you'd think this is an action RPG, kind of in the same way as the Batman or Spider-Man games.
Sure.
A lot of it's very similar. But
fitting for a superhero game.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very Route 1 for superhero games.
Yeah.
The problem is they tried to make it everything else at the same time. I wrote down a list of all the different genres that Guardians of the Galaxy tried to be throughout the course of the playthrough. Right off the bat, with the dialogue, the nonlinear dialogue options, it comes across as a Mass Effect like. Sure, okay, that fits with the action RPG aesthetic. I'm not super upset about that. Shortly into the game, Josh, you'll like this one. It was a bullet hell.
Yeah, I love that.
It tried to be a bullet hell. It didn't do it very successfully, because then it turned immediately right on its heel into a stealth RPG.
Ugh.
It tried to,
Bad parts of Assassin's Creed.
Yep. Yes. Yes. I failed
I
miserably
almost feel
all
like
3 times.
I almost feel like in most games, either be a stealth game or don't do it at all.
Yeah. Yes.
You know, like in games like even in Zelda games, like the stealth parts are my absolute least parts of the game. You know, but like if I was to go play Tenchu, right, or like Metal Gear Solid, you know, something like that, that's what I'm there for, and that's dope. But like even when I'm in a game and I'm totally powerless, and if I get spotted, I'm fucked. Like that's not fun to me when that's not the style of game that I chose to play.
Right. And like I said, I failed miserably all 3 times that it did that. But failing miserably in this particular sense is, it's just, you're just back to action RPG. Like you don't have to do the stealth thing, but it's like, you put me into stealth mode. Like now my expectation has changed. So fine. Then it decides to be a Gears-like cover shooter. It snaps you right into that same Marcus Phoenix third person, and you're shooting over a barrier. I'm like, okay, fine. I know how to do this. Then it goes completely off the rails and becomes a dogfighting simulator. It becomes TIE Fighter.
Ooh. I mean, I like TIE Fighter, but
I love TIE Fighter, but this is not what I signed up for.
I'm also not mad at games that like have a little bit of variation, like even a lot of the old
even Banjo-Kazooie is a shooter.
Sure. Or like you know, some of the old Mega Man games have like bullet hell levels, right, where you're riding on Rush, you know.
Sure.
But like it's a very small part of the game. It mixes up the action a little bit. It's kind of refreshing, but when it kind of like you said, has an identity crisis, like doesn't know which game it wants to be. It doesn't like there's not one sole like main identity of the game. I think that becomes a problem.
Well, and the dogfighting simulator, it's the worst designed dogfighting simulator ever.
Oof.
Normally, modernly, if we're doing a dogfighting simulator, I expect to be using two controls, one to kind of or two sticks, and it's more of a rogue squadron than TIE Fighter.
Sure.
But I expect 2 sticks. One in each direction. And in this case, the left stick is the only one you use. Your right stick is just for tricks. It tries to become Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
Oh my God.
And in the middle of a dogfight. And then the boss of the dogfight, you get out of the Milano, you roll down a ramp, whatever, fine. And then it dumps you into a Souls-like boss fight. After you've just gotten used to dogfighting, now you're back to action RPG, but it's the boss is just so colossally overpowered that you have to hit it exactly right. And I was bashing my head against that wall for a good hour. And then shortly after that, it becomes a platformer, which, okay. Yep. And then they start dumping horde mode on you. And with no indication that the correct move is ignore this horde. And it's just like they're sending waves of enemies at me, and Gamora's yelling at me, and she's the only indication I got is when their dialogue started repeating. And I'm like, really? That's okay. And then for the back third of the game, well, it's not a game, it's a movie. It becomes a movie for the entire right up until the last boss fight. And then it becomes a racing game briefly.
Wow.
For no reason at all. And then it has some roguelite elements as well, because the last level is procedurally generated.
Oh my God.
In the plot.
They're like, we're sick of designing this game. Let's just make the rest of it a roguelike.
Yep.
That's
so
hilarious.
I was like, this game is a nightmare of design flaws. It just looks like so many things were unpolished. So while the art is like appropriately Guardians, I did have one complaint, and that is that they were clearly trying to make a game that's separate from the movies. And then some producer was like, no, you have to make it more like the movies. Because the aesthetic is like Star-Lord looks different from the neck up, but then from the waist or from the neck down, he's just Chris Pratt.
Right.
I'm like,
So it's just like
That's just
like the Walmart toys.
It is the Witch.com Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
With the exception of Gamora, who does have her comics accurate costume.
Drax looks great for him.
Yeah, well, and I guess Drax on some level, but they all also have their Guardians 2014 costume.
Well, Drax looks remarkably different from both the movie and the comics.
Yeah, he looks like some weird amalgamation of the two. Honestly.
Yeah, which Drax in the movie looks nothing like he does in the comics.
Correct.
Yeah,
correct. But like
he's also like one of the most powerful characters in the universe too, isn't he? Isn't he like technically more powerful than Thanos originally?
He gets shit on in the movies.
In the movies, yes. In the comics,
it's don't get me don't.
It's too complicated. Okay.
Yeah, it's too complicated to explain quickly. So the art had like a couple of weird flaws to it. Obviously, the thing I mentioned earlier with the it just doesn't look polished. It doesn't look next gen. The music is off the chain, but I'm really glad I didn't stream it.
Star-Lord's got a dumper on him though.
I'm really glad I didn't stream this because the copyrighted 80s music would have gotten DMCA.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Lightning. It does have a streamer friendly mode in it. I did look in the options; it's there. But I was like, my favorite part of the game was the final boss fight, which was a Souls-like boss fight. And you're fighting blind for most of it. You literally cannot see a thing. It's just a black screen. They have this mechanic called the huddle, which makes no sense at all. You bring your team in like a football style huddle and give them a pep talk. And all of a sudden they either get boosted or just you get boosted. And it's like, it takes you out of the action, and there's no conceivable way that it would work that way in an actual battle. You couldn't,
trying to hide.
Everybody stop for a minute. We're going to take a huddle and then get back to the action. No, it doesn't work that way. So it's a senseless mechanic. But if you do succeed, it plays cool 80s music.
Yeah.
So in the final boss fight, when I'm fighting blind and I'm really frustrated about it, and I've been doing it for like an hour, I finally called a huddle and got it right. And Never Gonna Give You Up by Rick Astley played, and I won.
Oh, nice.
I was like, yes, that's what it's all about.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah, so that was a cool moment. Sound design is right up the middle for a next gen game. It's exactly what you would expect. How long did it take me? I beat it in less, after school, playing a couple of hours a day for a week. It was really short. It was very, very short. And I was playing on normal. It is 17 chapters though, which is intimidating.
It doesn't sound short.
It doesn't sound short.
They're just real short chapters.
A lot of them are just really, really short chapters. Okay. Some of them are even just like, this chapter is entirely dialogue. Like I said, it plays like a movie. So was the game difficult? No, it was pretty straightforward. The Souls-like boss fights were a nuisance, but handleable. I've been playing Elden Ring. I can handle a tough boss. Would I play a sequel? Well, here, let's get into it. I'm just going to skip that question for a moment because I want to give my overall rating.
Yeah, let's hear it.
I looked at the list and I was talking to some people on my painting show because we were just chatting about what was coming on the show this week. And I said, it's definitely worse than Miles Morales and the DLC, which I gave a 6.2. But it's better than Mall Brawl.
You also gave it a 6.2 in the context of essentially being an expansion, right?
Yes,
or just as a whole.
I gave it a 6.2 for one reason or another.
Okay.
I gave Jay and Silent Bob Mall Brawl a 6. Now, Mall Brawl in a vacuum, the core gameplay loop, the River City Ransom of it all, was much higher than a 6.
Sure.
But everything else is what held it back. The stupid boss fight, the stupid Battletoads segment that were just like, it's unnecessarily frustrating for a game that is quite honestly just filler product.
Sure.
So that took that rating down considerably. And that said, that lands me with Guardians firmly at a 6.1. It is right on par with both of those games.
Yeah.
It's not a great game. It's playable, but
if you got Game Pass, go for it.
And that's what I was going to say. If you can get this game for free or for dirt cheap, I know they're giving away the Avengers with this game at this point. So if you can get this game for free Game Pass or dirt blanking cheap, maybe give it a play. It's fun enough. It did hold my attention, but it's just incredibly frustrating when it changes genres on you, and things just don't line up properly. It could have used some more revision. Honestly, is my my final
time in
take
the
on
oven.
it. Yep. And so going back to the question, would I play a sequel? Maybe, but I know better now, and I know to wait for it to hit Game Pass.
Interestingly, this was Square Enix, right?
Yeah.
And this is one of their Square Enix Montreal, I think is
Square Enix Europe. It was Eidos
Oh,
Montreal.
it's Eidos. Okay. So this is now owned by Embracer Group going forward, if they decide to do anything with it. So there's the potential for a better quality product with a sequel if they do decide to make a sequel.
I don't think they will. The developers have said pretty clearly this was supposed to be a standalone game.
Sure.
And like it will not get a sequel.
Yeah.
At least not in the form that we know it.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that. Yeah. It is a self-contained story. There was a couple of characters that I really, really liked, a couple new characters. Mm-hmm. But everybody's story kind of got tied up with a nice neat bow at the end.
Okay.
There is post-credits scenes, which is really frustrating.
That's fucking annoying.
That's weird.
Yeah, like it works in a movie. Yeah. It doesn't work in a game. When I see credits rolling, I'm done. In fact, I posted to the Discord, hey, I'm ready to review Guardians of the Galaxy. And then 10 minutes later, I was like, oh, for the love of God. No, I'm not. And by the way, the end credit scenes are basically just QuickTime events.
Oh, okay.
It's a firefight and a QuickTime event.
Honestly, I don't mind that because a lot of times you roll credits and you're just like fucking waiting there for way too long while the credits roll to see if there's something at the end, you know?
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's fair. But yeah, it was a little bit too much beef, too much meat there to be called a post-credit scene, and they bill it as two additional chapters. And it's
interesting.
Like, that's not what I want to see.
Yeah.
Like post game.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll probably never play that game again. It is what it is. And yes, I bought a physical copy on PlayStation 5. But
I hope you bought it for cheap.
I did. I bought it for like $30. It was not full price. And we know now.
Now we know. The more you know. Cool.
You would not play a sequel.
Any final bits before we switch back?
No, I think that'll do it.
All right, let's switch over.
Well, not sour video game. Comic book games, huh?
No, I will continue to play comic book games for as long as I am a comic book fan, which I would imagine is probably going to be forever. But we're bound to have some stinkers every now and again, Josh, and it's like,
true.
They can't. I was saying, I think RPD yesterday. They can't all be Batman Arkham City.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I believe firmly that is the gold standard for comic book games.
Yeah.
Well, it almost sounds like you could use this game as like a test to someone who's never played video games. You can hand this to them and be like, which was your favorite part? And if they're like, I really like this part. You're like, hey, I got all sorts of games for you. You know,
dude, that's an excellent segue into what our topic is, because our topic is the language of video games. And the reason I chose this topic this week is because I actually recently watched a video where a dude like had his wife play some games, who's not a video game person. And one of the observations was that she didn't really understand the language of video games like we do, who have been playing video games all our lives. And I've noticed something insanely similar with my wife, Chelsea, very recently, right? Like we picked up the Zombieland game on the Switch because she likes Zombieland, I like Zombieland. She wanted to try it out. And it's a twin stick shooter, right? Which we all very instinctively know how to play, right? Mm-hmm. For someone who hasn't grown up with video games and doesn't understand, like I said, like the quote unquote language of gaming, that's it's not easy to pick up. So like what you're saying with, hopping into a game like that and seeing a different variety of gameplay styles, that could be a good litmus test for, you know, someone who's not familiar with gaming to kind of like jump in and kind of figure out, you know, what style of games they might like.
Well, that and have them just play it. And then when they're done, just ask them what was their favorite portion to lead them into the games they might enjoy more.
Exactly. Yeah, that's interesting. So in regards to the language of video games, this is something that I never really thought about most of my life playing video games. And like I would play games with Chelsea and like a shooter, right? Also uses twin sticks, and I'd be like, you have to keep both thumbs on the sticks. Like when you're moving your camera, you also want to be moving your person, you know, and like that's not something that's instinctive for most people. And what I started to realize was this is kind of the same for all games. Like if you think about your video game journey, right? Like when you pick up a game, I know when I pick up like a new platformer or something like that, I instinctively just look for secrets in certain areas, right? Like particularly like Nintendo style ones. Like I've been trained throughout my entire life to look for those little minute details, whereas someone that hasn't played those games would just completely overlook those. Do you guys have any like games, or have you guys had any realizations like that yourself, where it's like you hop into a game and you just kind of like without any kind of tutorial or anything like that, you just know like what to do instinctively? Like, can you guys think of any examples like that?
I can just, for me, the example is like, I call it like the Mario, it's like, I can't remember exactly. It's just like a very Mario thing. Like you were saying, like with the secrets, like the unwritten things that you just kind of know. And like, so me and Colin were just playing Kirby the other day, and he just like stands on an edge and like, there's definitely nothing under there. And he's like, huh, and just like jumps off the edge and there's like a secret thing down there. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah, you know, it just kind of felt like it. Like it kind of just felt right. Like, it's like one of those things where you're like to understand that like, huh, there's like a little blank space here. Kind of feels like they could put something there. That's not intrinsic to people. It's not like something that you can just like walk into a game and be like, oh yeah, Mario would definitely have you ground pound right there because there's like a thing. And like,
yeah, that was like me with Elden Ring. I'd never played a Souls game, but I ran into my first quote unquote the hidden wall that are apparently into Souls games, and I didn't know that. But I walked into a cave. I was like, this rock formation just looks sus, and hit like it. Yeah, rock. And it disappeared. I was like, oh, so there's like hidden walls in this game. Then I found out later there's like hidden walls in all the games.
It's interesting that you bring that up, James, because you have to witness this with me. I just bought it as a wall. I was like, this looks perfectly normal.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And you're like, dude, like stab it or something, and I was like,
yeah.
I like trepidatiously
showed you your first hidden wall. Yeah.
I don't know.
Go ahead.
I was gonna totally kind of curveball a little. I was gonna say like also we were raised on side-scrolling platformers, basically like side-scrolling games and flat games, top-down 2Ds, and to us that is just as much gaming as 3D depth, like games with depth and whatnot. But for people that have never played games very often, like handing them different types of games is like very jarring.
Oh,
like
very.
You're like I had an ex once who was like, I can't figure out how to make Link move in Breath of the Wild. And I was like, what are you talking about? Just like point him in a direction you want to go, like, you know, and just like move. But no, that doesn't make sense to a lot of people because like maybe the last game they played was like literally Mario, where like you cannot fall back or forward. Like you're pushing yourself like left and right, and that's it. You cannot fall. You know what I mean? There's no depth.
You should have given him Marvel Guardians of the Galaxy to learn.
Huh?
I said you should have given him Marvel Guardians of the Galaxy to learn.
Yeah, right.
Well, the level of complexity to enter the game's hobby these days, and I delineate the game's hobby versus, you know, the casual game environment, is tremendous. When we were kids and just learning what would have eventually become our hobby, the level of complexity was incredibly low. We had things like Mario, which jump and run. That's all you've got. and we've now evolved our skills through our collective interest. But like the last time I saw my wife play a video game, she was incredibly discouraged by it. It was Lego Indiana Jones of all things. Very disturbing. Snakes, man, snakes.
I'm shook.
And she got really frustrated with it, with good reason, because it's a Lego game, but it's incredibly complex.
Mm-hmm.
You have to navigate. I mean, it's a simple platformer to us.
Yeah.
But, there's a lot of secrets, as you say, James. And, there are a number of times, Josh, that I would do exactly what Colin would do. And that's like, oh, this thing looks funky. I'm going to poke it with a stick and see what happens. Where my wife would have just been like, no, why are you doing that? Why have you stopped?
Yeah.
As far as I can tell, the objective to this game is collect these little coins.
I just think it's so interesting to think of it as like a language, because for instance, like Zach, you had mentioned, I don't know if you mentioned it in your review, but off stream, you definitely mentioned how there's not really a run button in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes. Oh, that's true.
So the interesting thing about that is, as a gamer, you automatically think there is a run button, right? Because ever since Mario, we've been like, okay, hold B to run, right?
And our brains process things faster because we're used to that.
Exactly. And so we're used to it, but it's interesting if you throw someone that hasn't played games very often, they'll be moving around and not know that there's a run button. Like that's not the first thing that comes into their head. Whereas it is with us, because we're so trained to do that all of our life, and we don't even think about that. There's so many things that we do when we play games that are just like totally second nature. Just like when a word comes out of your mouth that you don't even think about like how to do it. It just you do it. Whereas like someone who hasn't played those games, like that's a totally new learning experience.
Have I talked on the show about communications theory at all?
Nope.
Okay, so communication theory breaks down into this was my college major.
Sure.
Communication breakdown.
So it breaks down into comfort, surprise, and conclusion.
Mm-hmm.
And games do that all the time, but they do speak differently to every player.
Mm-hmm.
For us, if I'm entering into any kind of an RPG situation, an action game, I'm comfortable with how to move a camera around and how to move a character around. The surprise comes from, okay, maybe my moveset is a little bit different than between Guardians and Spider-Man, let's say. Obviously, Star-Lord is not going to be swinging around on webs where Spider-Man is. Conclusion is, I still get to do something awesome. The problem is there's that baseline. If you're missing any one of those things, the whole thing breaks down. So if I'm missing the basic function of run forward, my expectation is going to be completely changed and functionally disappointed by the fact that when I finally kick on those boot jets and blast off into the air, I don't get anywhere near as far as I would expect to.
Sure.
And I have to then turn around and rely on Groot to pick me up and branch me off to a place where I thought I could just jump to.
Yeah.
That's annoying.
So I'll ask one more question real quick and then we can wrap it up. So Super Mario 1, right? Like the first level of the first Super Mario game does an exceptional job of teaching people how to play the game in one level, right?
Yeah.
Just with the first, the enemy placement, where the blocks are, where the pitfalls are, like it kind of like automatically trains you to play a Mario game right off the bat. And it's an excellent introductory game for, people who've never played video games before. Do you guys feel like there's any modern games that do that well? In my opinion, I would say just off the bat, no. Most games just throw you a splash screen with tutorial stuff and it's like way too much information on screen. And like, I generally skip most of those tutorials because they annoy the shit out of me. Sometimes that bites me in the ass, but because of my video game acumen, like I can still usually figure out how to play the game properly without that, right? Do you think that there's any games that do that kind of like subconscious learning in a way that like these old school games did?
If so, they're all Nintendo. Like shit. Nintendo.
I
is
disagree with that,
professional at it.
Josh. I don't think you're right about that.
Let's hear it.
I'm going to go as far as to say Gears Tactics.
Okay.
There's no tutorial on that.
There is, I mean, it very slowly builds you toward what you need to do by teaching you the basics all at once. There's no big wall of text. It's just like, okay, very simply, your squad needs to move forward and reach this point.
Yeah.
Figure it out. And it's click, click, and enter, or click, click, and space.
Click, click, boom.
And everything's just nicely printed out neatly for you in front of you.
See, I think it depends on the game itself, because a game I play, Rocket League, extremely simplistic game. You're a car with rocket boosters chasing a ball. It gives you the most minimal tutorial. A is jump, B is boost, and you can flip in midair. It tells you basically that, but it's a game that's very simple, like Mario 1-1. I mean, they can throw you in the world and give you that tutorial, but you'd probably figure that out in 5 seconds anyways. But there's not much to the game. In a game like almost any modern PC game or AAA title, they do feel the need to try to coddle you and give you a little bit of direction, because it's like, hey, this is probably going to be overwhelming for anybody, because a car that chases a ball is 3 or 4 buttons, but a character that has stats and skills and a HUD, a general layout of HUD, I think is absolutely critical for a game to say, hey, this is your health, this is your map, and our eyes are trained to it to go, I know what a health bar is, I know what a map is, but I don't know, some games might need just a little bit of direction, say you need to look at this and this while you play, kind of thing.
Yeah. Any other final thoughts on that, boys?
The ones I can think of are Mario. Literally, so Bowser's Fury, it just drops you on the first island. This game is flawless for so many other reasons.
I love that game.
It says like jump. It's like just says like A to jump like while you're moving. There's no pausing or anything like that. And that's it. You got to figure out how to do everything else, where to go, and then like what the concept is based on just like how the game unfolds.
Now, do you think that someone who has not played video games before could jump into that and figure it out quickly without a lot of tutorial?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
So, case in point, my at the time 6-year-old niece. Hopped into Bowser's Fury and figured it out.
There you go.
Nintendo has a way of like locking the camera at certain times too, like where they'll like fix a scene for you to make it like more manageable, as opposed to like, or like you'll like in Ocarina of Time, you'll like go down certain hallways and it'll like literally like fix a camera. You can't even like move it past the walls and stuff in certain parts. Like where the game is like more mobile and like more complex, they kind of like funnel it for you to make it easier. Yeah. I do feel like, although the other people do it, sure, Nintendo is just so fucking good at literally like teasing your knowledge about the game. Like this was a big thing when Mario Maker 2 came out. Me and Colin talked about this. Like when you're making a level, you want like something to show you like what to do, and then like elevate threat, and then like make it complex. Basically is like the formula, basically. Like no threat, mild threat, complexity, like with the same thing. And then they're just very good at nailing that. Yeah. Mario 1-1 is great because it even has secrets in it. There's even like sub levels and hidden blocks in that show you like by incidentally hitting things like, oh, is this the placement a secret block would be? Like, okay, yeah, maybe like I'll try hitting like dead zones more and see if I hit blocks. Like teaches you that kind of stuff.
Nintendo's what other I'm not going to finish that. That was dumb. All right, boys, this has been fun. Let's wrap it up. If you're watching this live, you're watching it on my Twitch channel. I stream on Tuesdays and sometimes on Thursdays. I also stream on Saturdays, always a samurai game. It's Samurai Saturday. And then, of course, we're back here Monday nights for the podcast at our new time slot. If you want to support us on YouTube, do that as well. Link is in the chat there. If you're watching us on YouTube, like, share, all that stuff. Sharing's the most important, and caring. We make that joke too often. It's bad.
I'm just leaning on cliches tonight. It's okay.
Yeah, you know what? Sometimes you gotta cliche it up. But yeah, we really do appreciate that. And if you want to yell at me on Twitter, you can. It's at Ryugami-sama, right there below my face. And yeah, that's where you can find me. Do you have any shout outs that you want to do? I know you don't stream.
Yeah, 0 socials, no shout outs.
Okay, cool.
I'm a ghost out here.
You can see my homie, being a dope ass mod, and sometimes he plays games with me too. So yeah, that's Jamesy over there, Merc Tool. So yeah, appreciate it. Josh, where can we find you, man?
Yes, Lord Yeshua and your Lord Yeshua TTV and all my shit. Yeah, I don't know. Who knows if I'll stream?
Nice. Well, we wish you would, and I'm sure your community does too. Like,
do they?
Yeah, they do, man. Like you had like a really kick-ass community before you stopped streaming. So
that was like 2 years ago, though. I feel like now.
Yeah, you can get it back. I believe in you. I believe in you, bud.
Okay. The success story soon to come.
Yeah. Let's do it. Zach, what about you, bud?
I'm on Twitch at Another Letdown. This week, Wednesday, for Zach Sucks Games, Mass Effect Part 2. Very exciting. And Saturday for miniatures painting with Paul's brother Adam and our friend Mike. And next week, and moving forward for a little while my wife and I attend birthing classes, because Tiny Human Inbound, Zach and Alex Gear Up will be moving to Thursday nights. So the birthing classes are every other week. And so we'll just pop it over a day, finish up Gears Tactics, jump into Outriders for a bit,
cool.
for the inevitable hiatus.
Outriders just dropped new content, didn't it? Isn't there a new expansion coming out? Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. I do like that game. I think the gameplay loop in that game is very fun. I could not really sign off on like the writing and things like that, but like it's a fun game for sure.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. Well, this is Difficult Podcast. Thank you guys for hanging out. Thanks for the sub, the gifted sub in the chat. Really appreciate that. Everyone have an awesome night, and we'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.
See ya. Bye.